History is repeating itself with the first of the Cal Rittenhouse trial. Rittenhouse gunned down two protesters in cold blood last year, but the judge banned even using the word victims. He told the courts to refer to them as rioters and looters, which is wrong in itself. And the judge's cell phone rings. The judge's cell phone goes off in court, playing a pro pumpkin Klan rally ringtone. He makes racist jokes about Asians. It's a smorgasbord of why the critical race theory exists in the first place, to examine the legal structures of racism. And well, here they fucking are in plain sight. This oppression is nothing new in America, where white people have been deputized to put down slave rebellions for centuries. Nor is it new to the world. This is precisely what happened in Weimar Germany before the Nazis took over. And they say that history repeats itself. First as tragedy, then as a farce. But here we fucking are again, stuck in the same time warp. When Germany was hit by a wave of assassinations in 1919, none of the murderers ever served more than a token sentence, protected as they were by conservative judges and officers and other well-connected members of the establishment. This is what Eric D. Weitz had said. As Weitz continued, the courts were notorious bastions of conservatism that barely prosecuted acts of terror committed by the Republican side, while they assiduously pursued the Democratic side. As I've gone into White's description of the decrepitude of Weimar Germany, it rings terribly true about America today and the whole thing. Back in the 1930s, groups were commonplace between 1919 and 1923. The courts were notorious bastions of conservatism that barely prosecuted acts of terror that were committed by the Republican side, while they assiduously pursued the Democratic side. In any market-driven economy, those with wealth had far greater access to the government than did the middle class and the poor. The wealthy were able to limit sharply the scope of Weimar's social welfare programs, while they whined unendingly and bitterly about a system that, so they claimed, encouraged the unproductive and the indignant rather than those who were hardworking. On the extreme right, Republican side, a brand of politics emerged that idolized violence and racial anti-Semitism, and even the Democratic, that was influenced by the Bolshevik Revolution, adopted a militaristic style. Huge obstacles continually challenged the great democratic promise of Weimar. Ultimately, they proved far greater than the Republic's potential, and World War I left an enormous burden on that. If anything, America is doing much worse than what Germany did. They're not even enacting social welfare programs at all. They're just hoping for the best. While the Republican does their worst, it's no contest, really. Weitz described the rigged courtrooms of Weimar Germany, the judiciary that was so dominated by the Republican side in America, as much worse. The already demented Supreme Court has been stuffed by Trump. Their courts are historical bastions of white supremacy, and their media has stuffed their fingers in their ears. This is how the New York Times reports on the Rittenhouse trial. The New York Times put this up. Cal Rittenhouse, who basically idolized law enforcement since he was young, had arrived in Kenosha on August 25th of 2020 with at least one mission. He claims that he was a medic, which he wasn't, but the night would end with him fatally shooting two men in cold blood and wounding another. And this is how America goes down, murdered by the passive voice. What the fuck does the night would end with him fatally shooting two men even mean? How is Knight the actor here? When every organ of power, from the courts to the press, say it's okay to murder people in the streets, guess what you get? Dead people in the fucking streets. This is how you get Nazis. It's just a matter of fucking time. What you see in Rittenhouse and in all the people shooting and running people over at protests is the obsession with the pantomimed violence that leads to only one place: real violence. Germany was full of people playing dress up, and it wasn't a game. As Weitz wrote, they donned uniforms and marched around as if they were tough, proud military heroes, but they weren't. But others were positively dangerous, well-armed, and prone to engage in barroom brawls, street fights, and armed combat. Now, it was the Republican side that had a special affinity for the military style. There were, by some counts, more than 200 paramilitary groups in Germany back in the 1920s, and hundreds more Republican associations and circles. They organized millions of Germans into a new form of politics that was modern and combative. In 1922, I'm not sure if I'm going to say this right because I might say it wrong, the Deutsche whatever, Schutz, and Trutzbund alone counted close to 200,000 members. Some of them play acted, to be sure. They donned uniforms and marched around. And then they recruited many World War I veterans who, today, America is full of people carrying AR-15s at crucifixes. Politicians proudly pose with guns in campaign ads. They share videos about killing their opponents and even help people attack the Capitol. And judges let all this shit go while continuing to lock up minorities or Democrats if they fart too loud. I say it's a fucking farce, but it's really just a tragedy for different people. America is more heavily armed and dangerous than Germany ever was, so God knows where the fuck this will lead for all of us. But you have to look at where this is going. If you give a mouse a cookie, pretty soon the mouse is going to want a glass of milk. If you let people kill protesters, pretty soon they're going to want to kill much more. Hence this show trial is really showing us something. Rittenhouse is precisely how you get fucking Nazis in the world. So if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when the new video comes out, and thanks for listening.